It's the end of the month, and you know what that means. It's time to revisit the next Star Wars movie in reverse Hisui rating order.
That's right. We've given each Star Wars film a How Star Wars Is It score, but we are revisiting them all at the ends of the month, and this month we are talking about The Force Awakens.
How Star Wars Is It?
Well, hello there, Mike.
Hi, Josiah. Welcome, listeners.
Welcome, listeners. This is How Star Wars Is It. It's the only podcast. It's where we compare things to Star Wars. We rate things on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay? What more do you want?
Yeah, look, you can go listen to a podcast where they recap shows or movies, or you can go and listen to something where they review things and they give it a score. You know, like, I liked it, so it's 5 stars or whatever.
And you can talk, sure. You can talk. You can bicker, you can bicker. You can talk. Sorry, go ahead. You just said you can a couple times.
I did,
and it made me
right.
think of that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And you may ask yourself, how did I get here? And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile?
What were we saying? The intro to the podcast.
But we don't review things.
No.
You know, like, hey, is this new Dear Evan Hansen movie going to be good? And we say, no, we don't think it is. That's not what we do. But it is what I just did.
That's true.
What we do is we take a topic every week and we compare it directly to Star Wars and try to determine how Star Wars is it on a scale of 1 to 10, with Star Wars, the definition of Star Wars being all things Star Wars compiled into one single mush Star Wars chili.
That's right. And so, you understand. If you're listening to our revisit of this movie that we've already done one on, I'm assuming you're a fan.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or a listener, or something. But you get it. We're trying to figure out like the most Star Wars stuff, and now what we've been doing this year is we've been revisiting each movie.
That's right.
Re-giving it a rating.
Like a year and a half or 2 years to actually do every Star Wars movie, and as we looked at the scores that they all had, they were kind of all over the map, and we realized, did we do justice by the Star Wars movies by giving some of them things like, say, 5 or 4? Because they are Star Wars.
Well, and we were young and we were dumb, and we had only been doing the show for a year, and we have a much more granular scale now.
That's right.
So we are revisiting, and we watched for the first time in a while for me. I think it was for you as well. It was. We watched Force Awakens together for the commentary.
Yeah.
And
we recorded a commentary track, watch along, that you can play and watch the movie and hear us talk about it.
Or you can just play it to hear us talk.
That's true. And you can get that over on our Patreon.
So we're revisiting Force Awakens. Now, Mike, you know what's funny is we watched this movie.
No, I don't.
You don't know what's funny?
I don't.
Okay. Not anything? What about name one funny thing? Okay, all right. This is hard. Mike's brain is...
No. I was going to say, is Cars funny?
The movie? Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, the movie, I guess, is... Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy. That's who's funny.
There we go. You do know something funny. You might know something funny if you're... Here's your sign. Neither of those are Larry the Cable Guy. You did
all of them.
I did the other blue collar comedy tour guys, and not Larry the Cable Guy. Anyway, Mike,
what is a universally applicable formula for comedy, even if it's not redneck, is that you might be a redneck. Like, it is so fun. If someone ever says, like, such and such and such, it might be and then someone else might go, like, you might, you know, like, someone comedy adjacent perhaps might, like, use that cadence to say that you might be a light bulb or whatever. But then I love going, if you are a glass ball filled with filament, you know, like, doing the setup is so fun to me.
Yeah, it's also like, I think it's good that whoever did that in the first place did that joke, because it's more fun now,
right?
Because of the original Jeff Foxworthy. Because, like, that formula exists, right? If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? But it's like, the formula is made more fun by the fact that there was a popular comic and then, I don't know, 5th grader game show host.
Right.
Anyway, Mike, what I was going to say is that we watched this movie like 6 days ago.
That's right.
And I don't remember it.
I know. Man, we said this in the commentary, but or at least I did. This is the first time in our kind of rewatch that we've been hypercritical because we're together in the same room and we're talking the whole time. That I was like, boy, I'm getting kind of bored. And I don't think this is a boring movie. I think everybody in it is good, and I think the pace is good. It's just like, there's nothing in it that's like terribly exciting because like as soon as a scene starts, you intuitively know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a copy paste of not even just A New Hope, because that's like the criticism it gets, but of like movies.
Yeah, there is
How movie is it? 10.
Yes.
It's a 10.
It's a 10. There's an enjoyment in watching the prequels because there is a sort of like you're sort of just agog
they
at
defy
choices.
You to like ever be bored because like there's always something to be like, what the fuck was he thinking?
Because even when the scenes are boring, you're like, why did they do? And it's like a fun, like in the factory scene in Attack of the Clones, you're like, this is so dumb. But you're like,
you might be scanning the background to see if there's like a weird Indiana Jones Easter egg or something.
And even then, you are enjoying it, going, this is so dumb, right? Whereas in like Force Awakens is like so inoffensively movie to where it's well made, it's well done, but it is almost so like textbook well done that there's no like sort of like deviation from the formula that it ends up being just a little bit boring because you can't even be like, wow, I can't believe they're doing this, because you're like, no, everyone's doing a good job and this is good. And there's
not to go back to Dear Evan Hansen, but a thing that you and I talked about early on. I'm not terribly familiar with the cast album and the show really in general, or obviously the movie as well. But we talked early on. In fact, I think you brought it to my attention. The reason, because I listened to the album when everyone was talking about this new Broadway hit, and I was like, I don't really care about this music that much. And then you really like hit it on the head for me, which was like, they produced it the same way they produced Hamilton, but Hamilton is a hip hop album, and this is a musical theater, a contemporary musical theater album, and it should have felt a bit more like a bunch of voices singing in a room together instead of everybody like hyper fine tuned. And it's like, you don't get the texture and the color if it's overproduced. And this movie doesn't necessarily feel overproduced, but it does feel just like if you see the trailer, you effectively saw the movie.
Right. It does. And not to like, once again, people, listeners, we like this movie.
Yeah, we do. I like it.
I like this movie. And I'm not saying this is a bad movie. That's not what we're saying. And because that's not what we're interested in. We're not about good or bad. But it is a strange quality that honestly, it's a very modern blockbuster quality, you know? Because I have seen, I'm trying to think of other like examples recently. I guess I haven't seen that. Well, it's like a Marvel movie, right? Like no Marvel movie is going to be that bad, right? Like, Like, I mean, there are a couple Marvel movies that do venture into being like, well, that was just bad and like poorly made. But like, especially in more recent years, they're either good or they're just like fine. And it's sort of like, I watched Ant-Man recently for the first time because for some reason I hadn't seen it, and like it was fine, you know, like there was no part of it that was that like that memorable to me. Like
it's
it
like
was
fully fine, and Paul Rudd is as charming as ever, so like it elevates it up to like a fine plus.
Right. Yeah, like trying to remember specific Marvel movies as examples is sort of hard because they all kind of blur together.
Yeah.
But it is that like, it's sort of that studio feel of like, I like this, it's good, but it's also not different enough and not bad enough and also not like excellent, exceptional enough to sort of stick in your brain.
Yeah.
Which is weird because when I first saw this movie, I saw it like 3 times and I loved it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think I like this movie, and yes, I was the same way when I first saw it. I was just like jazzed as I walked out of the theater, and I even remember like in the time between leaving the building and getting in the car, thinking that was basically A New Hope, but then still being kind of high from like, good, Star Wars is good again. And it's funny how like it's been 6 years, and I think a major contributor to me going, I don't care about any of this, is the Rise of Skywalker.
Yep. I was just about to say, we talked about this a little bit in the commentary, but like something that I say this in the commentary too, so go listen there, people, if you want to hear it. But like, anytime someone is like, oh no, a sequel or a reboot, it ruined the original. It's like, no, it didn't. You can still go watch the original, whatever. But then the thing about, I agree with you, Mike. I'm on the same page, because the thing about Force Awakens is the decisions made in Rise of Skywalker retroactively make both Force Awakens and The Last Jedi like worse to watch, because all the questions that are being raised, like in Force Awakens, you're like, well, I know the ending and I know the answers and they're stupid. It's like, it makes it less fun to watch because you know that the ending is so unsatisfying.
Right.
I feel like it's a similar thing to like how Game of Thrones ended so badly according to everybody, and it was like the most important show in the public consciousness for 5 years, longer than that, and then it ended so badly that everybody sort of collectively decided
the entire thing.
Right, everyone sort of collectively was like, well, Game of Thrones isn't worth it anymore, and no one cares about it anymore, and we don't like that show. Like, have you
seen that meme of like the hand-drawn horse that's like perfect all the way until it gets to the head, and then it's like a 3-year-old did it?
Game of Thrones TV show.
It definitely feels like this. And I will disagree partially with what you said there, that it makes the other two sequel movies harder to watch. I think it makes Force Awakens much like less interesting to watch, but when I watch Last Jedi, it's probably just because I'm such a stan, but like I like put that out of my brain, because Last Jedi almost could function as the end of the saga.
Sure. Yeah, I think that like it doesn't necessarily make them either worse necessarily. It does affect my enjoyment. I think with Last Jedi, it's less of a like, it's more of a feeling of like wasted potential, where you're like, oh, they made cool choices, and then to know that immediately in the next movie canonically they reverse all these things is like, well, that's depressing. And then
it's like in this movie, J.J. Abrams did an excellent job giving us a brand new carton full of Star Wars eggs, and each one has a different color or glitter or texture to it. He took all of them and one at a time threw them up as high as he could, and it's like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? And that's where they ended at the end of the movie. They're all still mid-flight. Then Rian Johnson takes over, and you go up, the camera pans up to where the eggs are in the air, and you see 2 or 3 of them are actually floating, and you're like, how are they floating? But then like a couple of them like make concrete paths back down to Earth and land in crazy cool, exciting, different ways, and other ones have like these apparatuses that are gently guiding them to Earth, and then all they need to do is like land. And then in the last movie, it's just like you see them all go like and it's like, oh well, I thought maybe there'd be a cool, like a trampoline or like a...
And you see the ones that already landed go back up in the air and then land again but crush.
Yeah, you see them like reverse footage, like when you pour water out and then you reverse.
It's just disappointing in a weird way, and there is just some parts of this movie that are like, it's all of his little stupid puzzle boxes, which I think like seeing it for the first time in theaters, experiencing it's exciting because you're like, wow, so many questions. It's doing
exactly what it's intended to do as a puzzle box. It's making your mind go, okay, well then what's this? Who could that be?
And then to know that so many of them go unanswered or have a stupid answer is so hard. It's hard watching it again because you're like, well, and then I said this in the commentary too, but like he does this thing in this movie, which I will say this is a bad J.J. Abrams thing that he does, where he will present a puzzle box, and instead of being like, well, now, like, instead of being ambiguous and being like, well, who knows,
he presents you, he's not going to tell you.
He will present a puzzle box, like Maz Kanata is like, I have his lightsaber, and Han's like, how'd you get that? And she goes, a story for another time, and hands it to it, and it's like,
she passes it through the screen to us.
It's like, to us.
And then we just have this lightsaber. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
He does that multiple times where people will literally be like, well, we're not going to talk about that right now. And it's like, why not?
Right.
Like, she could have said something very quickly, like, oh, found it. at this place. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's
and
frustrating
then you're right,
that he...
like, watching it now with all this hindsight, when we see a puzzle box appear, or mystery box or whatever the term is, and then we know that the answer is, like, he's like, what's in the box? And then later he's like, oh, I don't know where that box is.
Yeah.
I got rid of that box.
And especially, like, when they present stuff and making it seem like it's going to be a cool reveal or interesting information, only to never come back to it, or to, like, reverse, like, the decisions that Rian Johnson made. It makes for a harder watch.
And the other piece of the JJ of it all is the thing that we talk about a lot on this show, which is, like, everyone in this movie has seen Star Wars.
Yeah, especially Ray.
And they loved those movies. They watched them in the theaters in 1977, in 1980, in 83.
Well, you know what's funny is you brought something up of, like, how does Finn got kidnapped as a child and then, like, indoctrinated into, like, the stormtroopers, and so, like, whatever, but he knows who Luke Skywalker and Han Solo is, which is interesting because it's like,
in the same way that I know, like, who Ponce de Leon is,
right?
You know?
And it's like, does he? Although, I would argue it'd be even stranger,
I know
right?
who Nixon is,
right? Or, like, since America's the empire, right? In this case, for the sake of this analogy,
right?
It'd be like if we had a
Che Guevara.
Right. If we had an actual working knowledge of what actually happened in Cuba or, like, Vietnam or something, as opposed to, like, the propaganda we get. And then Rey, similarly, I'm like, did she have a good education before she was dropped off on this planet? Because, like, what's his face isn't, like, teaching her things. And so how does she...
And
I don't know.
that area where she lives does not seem to be the same as, like, Luke and Anakin, where, like, well, Luke seems like he's on a farm, but Anakin's, like, in a city where, like, space pilots are coming and going. So, like, he's going to hear conversations,
Tatooine seems at least like a hub of stuff. And then there's also, like, crime lords there. Like,
Jabba the Hub. And, like, Jakku, for all we know, who knows what Jakku is, but Luke even says in the follow-up that is pretty much nowhere.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to nitpick or anything, but it does seem weird that all the characters have such, outside of Poe and everyone with the Resistance, have such a knowledge of, like, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, especially because in the original trilogy, Han Solo doesn't believe in Jedi, which were around, like, and in his childhood.
Right.
So it's like, okay. I don't know. Okay, but we should...
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, that also, of course, is silly, because then when he made the movies, there were Jedi everywhere. Like, that was just, like, poor thinking out of the prequels. But you're right, like, things fade away and become mythology so fast. Yet,
so
like,
quickly.
And in this movie, like, Rey and Finn both say, like, I thought he was a myth or whatever. But
that's
like,
true, they do.
I don't know. You're right. Like, they've heard the name and, like, are aware of his whole deal. You're right. That is, like, funny and inconsistent.
It is.
But inconsistency is Star Wars.
That's true. Let's get into some... We need to, like... Because on these revisits, we always end up taking a while figuring out what the rating is.
Yes.
So, like, let's get into where everything stands right now before we go to the break.
Run it down.
Okay, so top to bottom, highest rating to lowest rating right now of the ones we've revisited. Return of the Jedi still has a 10. Phantom Menace has a 9.25. New Hope has a 9. Revenge of the Sith has an 8.75. Empire has an 8.5. Attack of the Clones has an 8.25. Last Jedi has an 8. So, what really our job is kind of does...
God, what a stupid podcast this
I know,
is.
our podcast is dumb.
My brain just went, shit, I don't know.
Yeah, I know, like, me too. I was like,
there should not be any stress.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be a hard one. And it's like, no, it's not. It doesn't matter. And, like, we made it up. But I think that we got to figure out, my gut check, does Force Awakens feel more Star Wars than Last Jedi?
Man, it does.
Yeah.
Because it is, like, kind of almost the most Star Wars. But I don't know, man. When I think of the Star Wars chili, I get excited. I was at the airport on Monday, and I saw, like, there was, like, a shop in the airport, and they had Stance brand socks on display. And I saw the Star Wars logo, like, licensed on a thing of socks, like, on the packaging, like the little, like, cardboard piece at the top, not even the socks itself. I didn't even know what the socks said, but I saw Star Wars, and my brain got that little, like, when you have, like, 30 likes on something on Instagram or whatever, that little, like,
Yeah, it's like
and this movie does not make me feel that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so not to get simulation and simulacra on us on the main feed, but Force Awakens is almost like an abstraction of Star Wars, right? It's almost a one step further.
Yep.
It is almost the looking at a computer door at a Walgreens that's showing you what is on the inside of it.
Yes.
It's almost that.
Have you watched all the Star Wars Visions episodes
No,
yet?
I have not yet.
Okay, because there's the third one I have described as like our formula, our thing of like, we fed like 50 hours of whatever movies to an AI and this is what it wrote or whatever. But instead it's like, we fed every Star Wars movie to an anime AI and this is the script it wrote. It's like a different version of Star Wars. It's not like here's a story that could have happened in the Star Wars universe. It's like, what if Star Wars was different, but it's all the same?
Yeah. What if we took all the parts? But I feel like that is Force Awakens in a way is the reverse of that, where it's like, what if it was all still Star Wars? It's like we took all the parts and it wasn't something different. It was the same.
Right. Yes, it sort of has its cake and eats it too, because it has these new characters that fulfill a lot of the archetype things of the heroes of Star Wars movies, but in different ways. Like some people have mixes of Han and Leia, or mixes of whatever. But then also Han and Leia are in it.
Yes. It is weird to be like, here's the main trio. They're each a mix of the original trio, but also the main trio's still here.
Right.
It's like, wait.
What if the new trio, like someone was like a math nerd instead?
Yeah.
Like,
what if
not
one of them
any
was
of the originals?
Yeah, what if it was the Breakfast Club? Like, come on, let's have some fun with it.
Right.
Let's do some Jumanji stuff.
Yeah, hell, what if it was only 2 people instead of 3?
Yeah, what if it was one guy, but he had 3 people inside of him, and it was Father, Spirit, and Son. And it was Jesus.
That classic order. Father, Spirit, and Son.
Father, Spirit, Son. One time a Jewish friend asked me to explain the Trinity, and I was like, it doesn't make sense, but I'll try. And then I did, and they were like, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, I know. We took your thing and we made it stupid.
Made it complicated and like sci-fi.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, there's 3. Also, it's like not biblical. Anyway, so what were we talking? Oh yeah, okay. Next thing, gut check again. Does Force Awakens feel more or less Star Wars than Attack of the Clones?
Interesting. I think another thing we've talked about this before on the show, but like how old a Star Wars movie is, like makes the Star Wars chili smell more like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it's like the opposite of
it's
recency
been sitting
bias,
in the pot for longer. So like
here's what we have to figure out before we go to the break. Is the Because here's Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Empire, Attack of the Clones. All of these, so essentially, original trilogy and prequels, right? They all feel genuinely Star Wars and not trying to be Star Wars. It doesn't feel like a meta commentary on Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Solo a Star Wars reference,
Right.
I think The Last Jedi, to an extent, also feels like it's trying to tell a story in the Star Wars universe. It doesn't feel it's using characters that have seen the Star Wars movies,
Yes, and in fact, because it is kind of in your face about how it's trying to subvert what you expect Star Wars to be. That's almost the opposite of what this is doing, but in the same token of like,
right.
Hey, we know Star Wars, you know Star Wars, this is Star Wars, but it's not. Whereas this movie, Force Awakens, is like, hey, we know Star Wars, you know Star Wars, this is Star Wars, but it is.
But it is. So I think what we have to figure out is
I think it's between Attack of the Clones and Last Jedi. I think it does bump above Last Jedi.
I think what we have to figure out, like even for future movies, because even for like Solo and Rise of Skywalker and Rogue One, is like, is the meta knowledge or like the meta-ness of the newer movies having characters who essentially have all seen the Star Wars movies, does that make it, does that give it points or take away points?
Great point. Because the 21st century of Star Wars, or rather like the Disney era of Star Wars, is all so meta-aware. And in fact, the prequels are meta-aware in a different way.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, maybe meta-aware is in fact Star Wars.
Right.
I don't know. It's
I think the question is how
it's annoying about it. You know what I mean?
Right. It's because I don't think it's a universal. It gives it points or takes away points, but I think it's like a context thing of like how does it feel? Does it feel in my mind? And here's what I'm thinking. Does it feel genuine? Does it feel like they're trying to tell a story in the Star Wars universe? Right. Or does it feel like they're trying to tell a Star Wars story? Right. You know what I mean?
Like the Clone Wars and Rebels will oftentimes have a character in the background that it's like, oh, that's that species. They knew we liked that person. Or like someone might say, obviously I've got a bad feeling about this, but someone might say some like verbatim line that like Yoda said in Empire or whatever. And it's just sort of like oh, hey, I caught that. And those are also very like meta, but it's they're like kind of cute,
right? And it's also like
these movies do, including Last Jedi to a degree, are sort of like annoying about like we all have seen Star Wars.
Yeah, so I think like all that being said, I think you're right. I think Force Awakens doesn't feel as Star Wars as Attack of the Clones because it doesn't feel as genuine. But it feels maybe a little more Star Wars than Last Jedi because it's playing it safe and it's playing it more by the book, Mm-hmm. But we don't have to. We can continue discussing. But we should probably go to the break real quick.
Yeah.
And then we can come back.
Woo! And we're giant pig ass.
And we're Chewie. We're home.
Oh and Chewie. We're home.
And Chewie. We're home. All right.
Oh my God, listeners, my freaking throat.
Mike's is losing his voice a little bit, everybody. So be nice, be kind.
Okay. Let me move some stuff around. I have the game this week. Welcome back, listeners. Sorry.
Welcome.
So let's see. Because we're doing another Star Wars movie, this week we are revisiting our old classic, the Star Wars Minute Game.
Yes.
And just like last time, Josiah, because it's solo play and not we don't have another competitor. We're doing the version where if you get the minute right on the nose, you get 5 points, and then if you're 5 minutes in either direction of the minute, you get 4 points, and then if you're 10 minutes in either way, 3, 15, 2, 21. And listeners, what I'm describing here is I'm going to say a moment in every one of the 9 Skywalker Star Wars movies, and Josiah has to guess what minute of the movie that occurs in.
Yeah. Now, the good news is apparently I have at least one note here in my notes app that is a previous score on a previous game, so I'll be able to compare my performance to our July episode, whichever one that was. So
I think that was probably the most recent one we did this in because the last Star Wars movie we covered, I think we did a different game.
I think you're right. Yes.
Oh, it was with Delaney.
That's right.
Yeah,
he made the game.
Yeah. Okay. Your options for the theme are...
All right.
Dismemberment.
Great.
First appearances.
Okay.
Special edition moments.
Okay.
Music moments.
Okay.
Oh, and that's the end. That's it.
Great. I am scared that they're all going to be like, when did C-3PO first appear? But I guess we already did that one, didn't we?
Yeah, that was in the C-3PO moment game.
I want to do I think I want to do, what was the second to last one you said?
Special edition.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fun. Let's do some special edition moments.
Great. This game is, it's a fairly literal description. I'm going to name a moment in all the Star Wars movies of when a like added or tweaked thing happens, and then when we get to the current day movies where they just went straight to Blu-ray or whatever, it's just moments that happen, I guess. I recorded this all down in a spreadsheet like a year ago.
Yeah. Are they moments that feel like they're special editions?
Well, one of them does, and then one of them feels like a meta thing that you have to be aware of, like behind the scenes. But then one, I don't know why, I selected it.
Hey, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together.
We will. Okay, we do this in release order. Again, it's just the main 9 movies, not Solo or Rogue One, although I should probably get those at the ready to do when we cover those movies.
That's true. It's coming up.
Okay, we start in 1977 with A New Hope, although, of course, this is the special edition. These are also all from Disney+.
Great.
So there's a million different A New Hopes. This is the Disney Plus A New Hope. And this is the moment where, in fact, Greedo shoots first.
Yes. Okay, that's going to be semi-early. We're not in the Millennium Falcon yet. I'm going to say...
Oh, and I forgot to give you the runtime of the movie is 124 minutes.
Right. I'm going to say 30. Minute 30.
Minute 30. You are 21 off, so you get 0 points.
Wait, what is it?
It's minute 51.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We don't meet
there's
them
all the
for a while.
Leia space battle stuff, and then there's all the Luke and Obi-Wan stuff, and then McClunky.
Yeah, that was bad. And then McClunky. I did a bad job. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
How many points? I got 1 point.
Which is 127 minutes long. This is when Vader's on a Zoom call to the Emperor, and the Emperor is actually Ian McDiarmid instead of a monkey face.
Oh, right. Oh, God, I have no idea. I can't remember, where does that happen? I don't know. This is just a ball. This is going to be a shot in the dark. So we're just going to split it right down the middle and say, 60.
You're very close. That was 6 off, so you are within 10, so you get 3 points for that. It was at minute 54.
Yeah!
Very good.
Good job, me.
The next one is Return of the Jedi, which is a 134-minute long movie. Mm-hmm. And this is Jedi Rocks, the song that Cy Snoodles sings. That's
pretty early. I'm gonna say minute 15.
Wow, very good. It's 13.
Yeah.
So that's 4 points for you for that one.
Nice.
What's your running point total so far?
I only got 1 point in the first one, right?
You got 0 on the first one.
Oh, I got 0 on the first one. Then my total is 7.
Okay, cool. What about you playing along at home, listeners?
Yeah, what'd you get? Good job.
Now, there was a dark period between Return of the Jedi and there was a bunch of comics and shit and role-playing games. And then, 1999, comes The Phantom Menace. And this is this is a movie that lasts 136 minutes. Mm-hmm. And this is the new first appearance of CGI Yoda.
Oh.
In the Disney Plus version, and in, some Blu-ray, I think also, they took out Puppet Yoda, who they did in fact use in Phantom Menace, and they replaced him with CGI Yoda.
When
do we first see Yoda in Phantom Menace?
Oh, God. I have no idea. I don't know, minute 45.
Think about all the shit that happens.
No, there's so much that happens. How long's the movie?
136 minutes.
Minute 100.
That's closer than your first guess. It's minute 85.
All right.
So you're right at 15 off, so you get 2 points for that.
Yes.
Yeah, right. There's all the fast dash that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon do, and then they
pod race,
go away to Naboo, and then there's all the Naboo shit, and then
Tatooine.
Wait, do they talk to Yoda before they go to Tatooine? I don't remember. Probably not.
Probably not.
I wonder.
So that's
I
Pete.
think I have when do we first meet Anakin, but that's probably it's probably shocking how late we first meet Anakin.
Oh, yeah.
Who is ostensibly the protagonist of the prequels.
Right. Yeah. There's a good chunk of the movie without him.
Attack of the Clones is 142 minutes long, and there's nothing super glaring that was added or changed. I mean, there were some changes, but they were clean up to the film or things like that. So this is the minute that Yoda's doing flips and shit with his lightsaber. Yeah. And then I realized that goes on for a long time. So I said, let's say it's when he first ignites his lightsaber.
Okay, that's pretty late.
Oh, and the movie is 142 minutes.
I'm going to say one...
What do you think, listener?
130.
That's exactly right.
Yes!
130 minutes in exactly.
Wow.
Wow, very good. That's 5 points.
When I'm right, I'm right.
Yep.
Which is the nature of this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's true about absolutely everything.
Yep, it's true.
Man. Okay, moving on to the last prequel, Revenge of the Sith, 140 minutes long.
Woof.
Let's see. This is also not like a retouch or anything, but it's just like crazy. And I think that's kind of just what things are from here on out. Or not.
I mean, things
really,
are crazy.
This is just a crazy thing. This is when General Grievous extends his arms and turns lightsabers into mini golf windmills.
Yeah. His arms have arms.
Yeah.
That's also pretty late. 1:15. Or is it early? No, wait, because there's the whole fight at the end.
Oh, yeah, right.
Is it, I'm going to say 80.
Yeah, it's 59.
Wow, that happens way earlier than I remembered.
Crazy. So that's also
0
points. Yeah, that's like puzzling to me. Again, I wrote this game so long ago. I know I like did it all correctly, but holy shit.
Well, I'm doing a bad job.
Yep.
Yep, you are.
Okay, next is the movie we're talking about this week, The Force Awakens, which is a 138-minute runtime. And again, this is more like behind the scenes than
Is it the bread?
Special edition. No. It is when the stormtrooper gets mind tricked and he's Daniel Craig.
Right. That's pretty late-ish.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not aware, when Rey is captured and Kylo Ren is trying to get information out of her by sucking her forehead with his hand, he walks away, and then she convinces the stormtrooper to let her free. That stormtrooper is played by James Bond himself, Daniel Craig.
He was actually also in character as James Bond while filming, because he had to be.
Yeah, he was doing like an American accent, but like because in that instance, James Bond would also.
Right, because he's undercover. Under the cover of a helmet, and
under the covers.
Wink. So that's going to be late-ish. I'm going to say like, what? How long is this movie? 140?
138.
I'm going to say 115.
92.
Okay, that wasn't very good.
Okay, that wasn't very good. Yeah, you're right. That's more than 20 minutes away.
I used to be good at this game. I don't know what happened.
You're right, though, but that's the thing with this movie. It's not like you could rearrange every set piece and it would like sort of kind of still be the same movie.
You would get the same experience.
Like, it does build on itself. Like I guess I'm being like really shitty on a movie that I like, but it is just like a color by numbers Star Wars. Like you it's like one of those color by numbers for little babies that you get the like white marker and all it does is actually reveal the color that's already like cooked into the paper. Yeah. So when you go outside the lines, it doesn't actually do anything.
Right.
Anyway, speaking of going outside the lines, the next movie is the longest, The Last Jedi, 152 minutes. And this is the moment, and I have no, again, I don't know why I chose this
moment. Okay, go
this is the moment that Paige Tico presses the button and the bombs drop.
Oh, that's pretty early. 10 minutes.
Very close. It was 12.
All right.
So that's a 4-point guess right there.
Not bad.
Now, here's a bonus question.
Okay.
Why is that what I chose?
I don't know. That's a good question. Is it because people liked to argue about the bombs dropping and that's kind of meta?
Must be.
I don't know.
Yeah. People hate those bombs.
They hate those bombs.
Maybe it's also that like she's sort of the main character of the first like 15 minutes and then there 12, I suppose it is, other than Poe.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's gone, and then we're kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Man, fuck, that movie's so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay. And then the last one, The Rise of Skywalker. And again, it hasn't really been retouched or anything, but this is a special edition worthy moment spiritually to some of these other things because it's so silly. It's when Hux says, "I'm the spy."
Are those his exact words?
Okay, not only like is the sequel trilogy like they all saw Star Wars, but like he saw the opening crawl of that movie.
Yeah, he was
like it actually like flew by his spaceship, and he was like, "Oh, they know there's a spy."
He was like, "No." Are those his exact words? He says, "I'm the spy."
He says, "I'm the spy."
Wow.
He like, it looks like our heroes are goners, and then all of a sudden shots are fired, and the people who were gonna shoot them fall down dead, and you see Hux, and he goes, "I'm the spy."
That's hilarious. What a stupid movie.
So funny.
That's gonna be okay. Once again, who fucking
I was gonna say, could
knows?
you even guess within a half hour?
No, I mean it could be literally at the beginning, could be at the very end. I have no idea.
Yep.
I'm gonna say like, I don't know.
It could be a lie, and it's not even something that happened in that movie.
70.
Very good guess. It's 63.
Hey!
So you are within 10 minutes. That's a 3-pointer right there. So what is your total, and did you beat your last
All right,
score?
let's see. We got 7, 9, 14, 19, 22. It's my total. Last time I had 9, 13, 14. Oh, looks like I stopped keeping track because there's only 6 entries. So who knows?
Okay. Well, listeners, your score to beat Josiah is a 22. So
if you beat me, you get to be the host of this podcast now. Yay! I love the minute game. It always makes me feel smart or stupid.
And when you're right, you're right.
You're right. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. So where did we land? What were we talking
so
about?
remind me, I do think we, at least I think slotting it above The Last Jedi, but under Attack of the Clones feels right.
That feels right to me.
Because Attack of the Clones feels so much Star Wars-ier to me.
It really
for some
does.
reason.
I mean, it's just something about...
it's like bad.
Yeah, there's just something about the prequels and like the dumbness of them that feels like so... And I got to go back to, once again, I feel like there is a genuine earnestness that is, and not to say that the performers and the filmmakers of the Disney era aren't genuine or earnest, but there is a slight sense of separation of being that sort of meta thing of like, you know, being sort of obsessed with the story of Star Wars inside of a Star Wars movie that sort of just makes it feel less...
Yeah. It feels like the corporate decision to, after New Coke didn't do too well, to release Coke Classic.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's literally just a new title and like some marketing?
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
You know, it's funny though, our highest score ever, and the one that we really like hold to, is Return of the Jedi, which is kind of the first time... I was just thinking, like, you know, Last Jedi... And Attack of the Clones being so close together is funny to me because they are both big swings.
Yes.
And certainly one of them is like a bad big swing, and others might argue that the other one is too. And I would say Star Wars was a big swing. I would say Empire was a big swing.
Yeah.
I would say Phantom Menace was a big swing. I would say all the prequels are. And in fact, Return of the Jedi, I would say probably is the first Star Wars movie released that was not really a swing.
Right, they were
because
playing
they were
it
like,
safe.
let's just land the plane.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, that's true.
Because this does have Return of the Jedi energy, that it's just like, we've got a cash cow here, and we gotta get it over the milking bucket.
I think the argument that I would make is that Return of the Jedi, because when we gave it such a high rating, it was because it has the elements of good Star Wars and the elements of bad Star Wars. So it is like...
That's right.
It is the like... It's not necessarily taking a swing, but it's taking elements of when it's a swing and a miss, and it's in there, and it's taking elements from when it's a swing and a home run, and that's also in there, you know? Whereas for Force Awakens is definitely also playing it very safe, but also I don't feel the same elements of both in there. You know what I mean?
It's playing it safe because it's like keeping its eye on the budget and the demographics, whereas Return of the Jedi was playing it safe because like Lucas likes the sandbox he built,
right?
And in fact,
and he was like, "I gotta finish this trilogy."
Playing it safe because they hired a director who was like sort of inexperienced, and
that's true.
Lucas ended up sort of backseat directing the whole time, and
yeah,
I'm sure it was fraught with troubles in the same way that all the like movies of the 80s were.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also a weird sense of like playing it safe, like doing the same plot of the movie that you did 10 years ago could maybe be seen as like a real swing. You know, like
you're right.
There is a sense of that is like, I don't know. It feels weird in a way.
It feels like party line. It feels like finding out that like someone who seemed to be somewhat progressive as like a Democrat senator is in fact just like fully bought and paid for.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, okay, it's another one of these.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, I think that. So, do we need to? I don't know. Do we need to move anything up or down? Because I like Last Jedi at an 8.
Yeah, I do too, because it's number 8.
It's a number 8, but then Attack of the Clones right now is an 8.25.
Yeah, and is everything else like?
Everything else is in
0.25s.
We could go up to thirds.
Yeah, or like eighths. That's how I think, like half, quarter, eighth, because of measuring.
Because it's round,
inches.
Yeah. So should we do? I mean, should we give it a 8 and an 1/8 for
an 8.125?
Yeah, 8.125. That's funny to me.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I like it.
Listeners, if this is your first Star Wars revisit episode of ours, we had a lot of Star Wars movies that had the exact same score before we started this revisit, and our main goal behind revisiting these was to come up with the definitive rank and thus give every Star Wars movie its own unique score.
Yes.
Because like when we finally finished all of them, we were like, okay, there's like 4 that are 8. So which one's the highest 8?
Yeah. So that puts us now. Here's the power ranking. We'll go least to greatest now. Last Jedi is an 8. Force Awakens is 8.125. Attack of the Clones is 8.25. Empire 8.5. Revenge of the Sith 8.75. New Hope 9. Phantom Menace 9.25. Return of the Jedi is still a 10.
Yeah.
That feels good to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. It's and if you hear any of those and you think, oh man, that's low, you know, like Last Jedi is only an 8. Remember that we have also reviewed other things that are like sci-fi movies that get like a 6.
Yeah, it's true. And remember the first time we reviewed Force Awakens, we gave it a 7.
Right.
And then we gave Rogue One a 5 and a 6, and we gave Solo a 6, which is like, these are Star Wars movies, you know?
Right.
So
yeah, I feel like we should even maybe predict now that like there will not be a Star Wars movie under 7.
Yeah, I think
it feels wrong.
Yeah, I think that feels right to me. Like that should be the demarcation line, you know?
Right.
Where it's like,
and it doesn't mean that something won't come around that breaks that line that isn't a Star Wars thing.
Sure, it could. It's just like if it is a Star Wars movie, it's probably not less than that, you know?
Right.
Well, this might be a little bit of a short episode, but that's okay. Leave some meat on the bone. And also, if you want to hear us talk more about this, go listen to the Patreon.
Oh, yeah, gosh, guys. Like, I not to undersell it because, like, I've said it already on this episode, but I think this movie might be boring on its, like, 3rd or 4th rewatch.
Yeah.
But, like, if you want to hear us talk about it...
I would say just go, it's think of it as a 2-hour-long podcast episode. I have absolutely listened to a commentary track for a movie from podcasters just while not watching the movie.
Oh, yeah. Whenever I even entertain the notion of listening to a podcast commentary... I'm nowhere near the film.
No, yeah, I'm not watching the movie. So we do not expect you to, but I don't know. We talk a lot about stuff we talked about here, but also there would say a lot of other things. Once again, we like this movie. It's a fine movie.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't want everyone to think we were shitting on it because I don't want it to come across that way. It's just
this movie fully encapsulates my feelings about Star Wars in general.
Yeah.
You know, like friends and coworkers who are aware that I do a Star Wars podcast. It's like, I mean, it is kind of, but
yeah,
I don't know how to describe it, but without being like, it's not really a Star Wars podcast, but it like fully is.
Yeah.
Anyway, people know I like Star Wars, and they will probably, it'll work its way into conversation sometimes. Like, oh yeah, hey, he loves Star Wars. How Star Wars is whatever.
Yeah.
And I always think like, I don't have the energy, or I don't want to like bring the room down by saying like I think Star Wars is fine.
Yeah. No, I'm.
It is my favorite thing, but it's only fine.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I was talking with my little brother the other day about how like he was talking about like some people, I think the conversation started talking about like criticisms of Hamilton the musical, and like I was like, it's a great musical. Didn't do a good job talking about the actual founding fathers, like not a great subject matter. And I was like, and those two things can exist at the same time,
can both be true.
And we were talking about how that's just something that's difficult for everybody is saying, I like this thing, that means it's good, you know? And I think that's something we have both, maybe it's just getting older, or like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's having maybe we've talked about Star Wars too much, because I feel the exact same way. I was telling my brother, I was like, yeah, one thing I've like, on my stupid Star Wars podcast, I'm like, I like Star Wars, but also there's more bad movies than there are good movies, so like whatever. Like, I don't care that much.
Right. That was a realization we came to at the end of one of our other commentaries, I think, that we were like, do we either of us like Star Wars?
I was like, I like it, okay. Is it like, I don't, and I feel the same way when people like talk to me about my show, or like if they find out about it and they're like, oh, how Star Wars is it? I'm like, it's not my thing, okay? Like, I like it a regular amount. Or like maybe slightly more than regular amount, you know?
Yeah, I would even say I like it more than 95% of people, in the sense of like I know weird background characters, and I feel like pay attention to news about it.
I fall a little lower, maybe like 80, 85%, percentile. But I'm like, if you want to make fun of me or like, talk about the thing I know too much about, then like let's talk about superheroes, get it right, people. Come on.
Right.
But anyway,
it is funny, like this movie does really make me, and it might just be that like life is tiring right now.
Yeah.
But like this movie does make me go like
just a big sigh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and once, I think something you said, there was like a 2 seconds ago, like that this on the fourth or fifth watch, this movie's not as good, feels right to me. It's like movies have a certain shelf life, so like some movies you can watch over and over again.
Like Back to the Future, I'm somehow on the edge of my seat at the end of it every time. Like, oh my god, is he gonna make it? Is the thing gonna hit the lightning thing at the right time?
And I think there's also like, we talk sometimes about how like the hype and like the in the theater like psyched feeling of like Phantom Menace when it first came out. Because like even though it wasn't great, afterwards people were like, that was amazing, And I think like, not to say Force Awakens is bad once again, but I think the culture and feeling, like the culture surrounding Star Wars and the hype surrounding a new Star Wars movie, and like the feeling of getting to watch it and it was good, the first in theaters is like, you can't replicate that when you're watching it for the fourth time like at home on a TV 5 years later,
which is funny because the opposite is true about the prequels. Like after Phantom Menace hype died down and people all of a sudden, like the entire world decided the prequels are bad, even before like the 2 and 3 came out, they have such like richness, for lack of a better word, or like business going on, and like weird decisions that like they do age like a fine wine, because you can pick out little notes here and there.
Maybe that'll happen to the Disney era stuff too, because like
possibly,
once again, like it's whatever the opposite of recency bias is comes into play a lot with like the older it is, the more we feel like it's anyway, whatever.
I just think this one won't be a fine wine. It'll be like a craft beer.
I was gonna
when
say,
you have it
beer.
The first time, you're like, this is what I wanted. But if you try to age it, it will just sort of like get old.
Well, also, if you drink like too many of a craft beer, it's like, well, that's not how you're supposed to drink those. They're big, they're heavy.
I'm full. This is making me feel tired.
Yeah, you can have like 5 Michelob Ultras, but if you have 5 like Dogfish Head IPAs, you're gonna die.
Right.
Anyway, that's the show. So do you want us on the internet? Because you can find us on Star Wars on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us at agoodpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, we love getting emails.
And we haven't got one in a while, so send us an email.
Is that right? I haven't even checked.
It's right.
We do check all the time, though.
I've always got it up.
Okay.
So I'm always
in your heads up display.
Yeah, I mean, we got.
I don't know if listeners, if you've never actually seen pictures of us.
Well,
Josiah always has like Google Glass.
It's true
on his eyes.
Well, Mike, I should say, I say we haven't gotten email in a while. We've got a lot from Anchor. We've got a lot from Twitter.
Yeah, and from like TeePublic.
We've got a lot from. Oh, actually, these are 2 really good emails. Okay, first, this is from Jasmine Harbour at gmail.com. It is titled, "The New Monetary Director." Dear sirs, good evening. How do you do? Fiat money is forcing the technological cycle, accelerating economic robotization, and generating forced unemployment. Excess money is killing Western society. We must therefore overthrow the 4 coordinators of the 4 fundamental macroeconomic variables and appoint a new director of the money orchestra.
Is this the opening crawl to Phantom Menace?
I started reading it and I was like, what is this? And then now I don't know what it is. I thought it was like a scam, but this is like is this a conspiracy? I don't know what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and star this and never delete it.
So anyway, if you want to get starred and never deleted, you can email us at agoodpodcast.
The other one, hold on, this is a really good email too, because this one was more recent. It's from Ronaldo869pol@gmail.com. Hello there. Android app, e-commerce app, and iOS app specialist. Paragraph break. iPhone app and hybrid app creative. Paragraph break. Hotel and restaurant app is in bold. Online grocery store app also in bold. Healthcare and clinic app, gym fitness and workout app, education app, real estate app, tour and travel app, jewelry app, academy app, music and multimedia app, redesigning, redeveloping, not an app, websites, parentheses, static, dynamic, shopping portals, close parentheses, highlighted. Please share your exact requirements and direct contact number. Thanks, Ronaldo. So I don't know what he wants. Once again, not really a scam, just like a strange,
right. Yeah, just like
business opportunity.
If we need any apps.
I don't know, he's just listing kinds of apps.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's our email. That's our little email corner here at the end of the show.
That's our reader.
And you can also
mail.
find us on the internet at Patreon. We do a weekly bonus episode and a monthly commentary track, like we've already said. That's patreon.com/howstarwarsisit for just the price of a cup of sort of expensive coffee. You know, it's $5. It's $5 per month, guys. You can join us on Patreon. You get access to the Discord to chat with us, and you get bonus episodes.
It's great.
And then you can also find out more about us in the show notes if you want to follow us on social media.
Yeah, no one sent me
I'm bored like explaining that.
No one sent me a letter yet telling me if they read the show notes. So
right,
we'll see. That's about time for saying bye. So, like we always say. We love you. And may the fourth be with you. Bye.
Good night.
And good riddance.
Bye.
Bye. Good night and good riddance. The classic sign off of, what's his face? I don't know. Cronkite?
Walter Cronkite.
Is that what he said? Is that what Kronk from Emperor's New Groove said?
Oh yeah, maybe it's Kronk.
That's funny enough to be the ending thing.
Squeak, squeakity, squeaker, squeakin'.